I actually started teaching in Delhi University from 1985.
Obviously, it comes out that academics is your love.
My father was part of the freedom movement, and he was in jail for some 16 years, 8 years in solitary confinement. So I started learning karate.
Hello, Rita.
Good morning, Joby.
Good morning, Rita. It's so lovely to have you on the call, Rita Sinha. It's a pleasure to have you on this channel, Kahani's Golden Bytes. Thank you for taking your time.
Yeah, it's a real pleasure talking to you.
Lovely, Rita. Lovely. So, Rita, you have been a professor with Delhi University.
That's right.
And could you, just share a little bit about that? What subject you were doing, how long you were, a little
So
background?
I was in Janki Devi Memorial College in the English department,
Okay.
and I actually started teaching in Delhi University from 1985, and I took early retirement in 2018. So that's 33 years of teaching. That's a very long time. I could have gone on another 9 years, but I thought enough. It was time to go on and do other things.
Amazing.
So basically, I was in the English department, yeah.
Okay. So,
And while I was in the university, I was also an elected member of the academic council of the university for 2 terms. That's 4 years.
wow, wow. So you were really deep into academics, and you were interacting with at different committees and different bodies at the university level on academia,
That's right.
right? Right.
Yeah.
And so, Rita, obviously it comes out that academics is your love. You just that's your forte. And so I'm just guessing, and I'm wondering here, if I may take the liberty, go back to your earlier days, your childhood days. If you were so much of an academic, uh, your love for books would have been primary. Is that so? Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. And you can see behind me, this room is full of bookshelves. so,
Oh
so
yes, it's piled up.
family was into reading, and one little snippet of information. My father was part of the freedom movement, and he was in jail for some 16 years, 8 years in solitary confinement, and all he could do was read. So but they were very kind. They actually brought him a lot of books, whatever, unless it was banned. So they would bring him books, and one of the books that he was reading when he passed away, he had it at his bedside, was a copy of Jawaharlal Nehru's Discovery of India, which was actually autographed by him and given to him as a gift. Yeah.
Oh
So
my, oh my. So your father was a freedom fighter. He didn't go for, 16 minutes of jail time, as you tend to find in a lot of places. You're talking about years and not even months.
and
That
eight
is
years of
tough.
solitary confinement in crossbars and fetters. So that was pretty horrific. We can't even begin to imagine that. Yeah.
I am just wondering what the family would have gone through, etc. Oh boy. And all for the love of the country, all for the love of the country. Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah.
So did your love for books, spring from there? Was that
I think
you
so,
think?
because one thing, he never had very much time at home. He was always very busy, both my parents. But one thing that they would do was that apart from school and homework and whatever, they would make sure that we didn't have very much money in the house, but whatever was there would be spent on books. And there was always a thing that if there was a long summer break, then you had to read so many books, and if there was a winter break, which was shorter than so many books, that you had to read. And they had to be in different languages, so Hindi and English and Sanskrit.
Oh,
So so we got exposed to
amazing.
that kind of literature right through.
And you mentioned even Sanskrit. Rita, you've read Sanskrit books?
Yes, that was part of the deal, that we had to read the
Amazing,
Ramayana in the original. We had to read the Mahabharata in the original,
amazing,
and
amazing,
things
amazing.
like Patanjali's grammar, that huge 8-volume thing. So a lot of summer vacations, obviously not all at the same time, but
Okay.
that would be a summer vacation project.
This
So
is amazing. You've read so much in depth in Hindi and Sanskrit, and you were a professor in English at Delhi
that
University. Ah,
that
that's so lovely to hear. That's, your love for, I mean, not just languages, but your love for books and languages just comes through, and your proficiency in, different languages, your, different levels. But amazing. This is really amazing, Rita. So with your love for books so evident, with your love for reading so evident, different topics, different subjects, just a small section of the books behind you. So you wouldn't have had any time to play. Did you play? Did you ever
Oh,
have?
yes. I grew up in Patna, and we had
Okay.
this huge field in front of us.
Okay.
So every evening, and those were sort of more innocent times. So
Right.
there was nobody sitting there and sort of monitoring what we were doing, and who was coming and going. So all of us, I was kind of the ringleader of a whole gang of tomboys. So this wasn't organized sports in any way, but everything from badminton to gilli danda to climbing all sorts of trees. And you know I even tried to climb khajur trees, which are very scratchy and prickly. So, of course, we would always come back home with torn frocks and shorts and, various gashes and scratches all over. But in school also, we really didn't have very much space for organized sports, because basically those were different days. And the thing was that girls were really not encouraged to go in for sports in small town India at the time. In fact, the number of times I was scolded by the nuns in school for climbing trees, because I thought that was a great place to, eat the tiffin and share it with the squirrels and birds. But there was this very elderly German nun called Sister Anita, and she would make sure that we all came down. And she had this thing that ladies' legs shouldn't show, so you couldn't climb trees. So we were supposed to do embroidery instead of running around and playing. So I really didn't have very much of organized sports through school and college, but
So Rita,
play,
sorry.
yeah.
Yeah. So Rita, you were an academic. The little bit of time that you could get, in playing around as natural as it would come to a child, you've done all of that, and like you said, climbing trees and getting scratched and hurt, as part of growing up and playing with
Right.
friends. So, uh, so, did you ever after that think of play or think of something physical after that? Because I'm sure you didn't have time after that, because then you became a professor in Delhi University. So that's I'm sure that's a time gone by, right, Rita? I mean, those times are gone. No more physical activity or anything of that sort. Is that correct?
So the interesting thing is that I was, you're right, I didn't do any sports or playing. And as a consequence, I had, horrible aches and pains in my knees and lower back. I was in bed rest with sciatica for a month. And I was over 40 by then. And I went to enroll my son in a karate class that was going on in the park downstairs. And I got so fascinated that I asked the sensei if he would consider me as a student. All the other students were children, and he agreed. So I told him that, I'd had this problem. I'd been in bed rest just 2 months earlier. Would he still take me on as a student? And he said, sure. And my orthopedist had told me that if I didn't do something to strengthen my muscles, he would be considering surgery in a while. So I said, it's high time I just got my act together. So I started learning karate. I was I think 41 when I started.
Wow.
So it's never too late to start.
Amazing. This is
It
amazing. Please carry on. I'm sorry I'm interrupting you. I was just, I was surprised and hence a natural interruption. I'm sorry. Please carry on. In your 40s, you start karate because you just see it in a park, right? Please go ahead. I'm trying to absorb it.
it was in the park, and everybody who would pass by would look at me because there were all these small children, and my son was about 7 at the time, and there was this woman with graying hair, learning as seriously. And this would, the classes would be in the bright sunlight. I mean, 4:30 on a summer evening is hot. Okay.
Of
And
course.
we were in these heavy karate gis, and we'd be at it. It was an hour long class thrice a week, but it was a lot of fun. And a couple years down the line, I had to have major surgery. I had a hysterectomy, and so of course I had to interrupt the classes for a few months while I went in for the surgery and all that. But uh, after the surgery, they do a bone density test to see whether your bones are weakened after the surgery or not. And the technician was kept doing the test over and over again. We did it some 3 or 4 times. So when I took the reports to my doctor, and I asked her, I said, is there something seriously wrong with me? And I think you should tell me if there's something the matter. Do I now need to look at something else? So she started laughing, and she said, no, the thing is that your bones have the strength of someone 20 years younger. So I said, how did that happen? She says, probably because you've been exercising and you've built up your bone strength to that extent. So
Hmm.
it made such a huge difference in just the couple years that I'd been doing this. So I said, okay, so it's, I'd taken a break because of the surgery, but I said, nah, I need to get back, and I need to tell my sensei that, I'm not quitting just so soon. So I went on for another few years.
Few
And
years. Few
yes,
years.
yeah.
I was
So
going to ask, I thought you were going to say, I walked into the park, I joined the classes, I went for a few weeks and I enjoyed it and I came back. I was more ready for that. But you're saying now you carried on for a few more years, Rita?
years. And so my sensei was very kind to me, so he would do things at a slower pace with me. So I finally ended up as a second dan black belt, and it took me years to get there. So
Ooh. A
uh,
black belt. You said a black belt in karate.
black belt second dan, mind you. So that's the second level. So that was I think academics is
Hmm.
something I was trained to do, something I was kind of mentally preparing for all my life. But this really gave me a huge sense of achievement, because this just
Absolutely.
came
Absolutely.
from nowhere. It was something that I and that I had the discipline actually to do it for so many years.
Amazing.
And so even after we got the black belt, we trained further, because so beyond that, the exercises and various movements get very difficult as you age, because there's something that's a double kick. So I couldn't do that one, because obviously age does catch up. All right. So there are things that you can't do, but if you accept your limitations and work within that, I think it just gave me a tremendous sense of accomplishment.
This is absolutely amazing to hear, Rita. I mean, this is so inspiring. Um, y- I don't know where to start. You've taken something not out of fancy. You've put serious time and effort into it, and you were committed to it, and you went beyond. You went beyond, and and this is such a lovely example. You come out such a lovely inspiration that age is not a constraint. Where what you're doing is not a constraint. If you actually apply, right, Rita, you can achieve and go beyond. Is that right?
Absolutely. So it took effort, but it just gave me a huge boost in my self confidence, that I didn't need to stop at any age. And there's just one thing I'd like to bring in here, that, given the state that the country is descending, and we've all been looking at the news, right? The increasing number of rapes and so on. I think more, even more than organized sports, all right? If you train young girls in self-defense, in martial, even if it's not, going on for years, working towards a certificate, working towards tournaments or whatever. um, for me, for example, there was no point going for tournaments in India, because I went once and they gave me the gold medal because there was nobody else in my age category. So that was so stupid. I said, this doesn't make any kind of sense, because I didn't join for the tournaments and the gold medals. I did it for myself, So I think it's so important to train girls, for if nothing else, that basic self-defense that will give them that, at least a few minutes where they can escape, where they can scream for help or whatever. So one thing that I did plan to do when I took early retirement a couple years back, we've got this little place in the hills. The hills are safe, but it's when they come down into the plains, these Kumaoni girls are very simple at heart. So I thought I'd settle in this little village where we've made this cottage, and the village children do come to me to study after school. I thought I would start working with the girls in particular and train them in basic self-defense.
Amazing.
So I'd carry my learning from karate
Amazing.
into work out a module where I would train them for maybe, of half an hour every other day. And that would give them the opportunity to fight back if something like this happened.
Oh, this is
Because I don't think the kind of crimes that are happening now, we need to, not rely on the state for protection. We can't do that anymore.
yeah.
So it's so important for girls from villages to be able to defend themselves, to be able to say that they will not take this kind of rubbish anymore.
Oh, this is just lovely, Rita. This is just lovely what you're doing. You've uh, your life in academia. You're trying to apply it to the rest of society, from which is very different from our cities. So and just around where you are, you're helping the neighborhood, you're helping the society there. And I really loved it when you were you're actually also teaching them self-defense. So this is really putting it all together, what you've done, and what you've learned through your life experience. You're just helping that bit of society in your own way to come up and be better than they would otherwise. Oh, this is
It
just
gives
sorry.
a tremendous sense of, I don't know, more of an achievement, more satisfaction and joy than I think I've gotten a lot of other ways. It is in working with these children.
Oh, this is so lovely. This is so lovely. Uh, so, Rita, you know, I could carry on, but it was just such a lovely conversation, Rita, that I had with you. And it was just wonderful to hear the achievements and how you've broken through mindsets, stereotypes, etc. And you're living it, and you've practiced it, and you're living it. So this is just absolutely lovely to hear, Rita. And many of our viewers are from different backgrounds, different age groups, and
Yeah.
large number of them are going to relate to what you've said. And it's going to be a big advantage, a big boost to them as they hear your views and your comments, and how you've lived your life. I want to thank you, Rita, for your time, for taking out time and sharing your views, and some snippets here and there. Thank you so much, Rita, for your time.
Such a pleasure talking to you, Joby.